So, some news today. Apparently, the for those of us in the guitar world, it appears that G&L um, has closed its doors. G&L being Leo Fender's company that he ran with George Fullerton, also a Fender until Leo's death around 1990. So, those of you who don't know, Leo Fender, I invented the Telecaster, Stratocaster, Jazzmaster, all those great guitars that we still know and love today. He sold the Fender company to CBS in 1965, stayed on as a consultant for a few years, and then went on to work with Music Man for a while, and then kind of in response to what he thought was the poor quality of the instruments that CBS was creating after they bought the company from him, started a new company. He got back into the game, which is what we know as G&L Guitars, George and Leo. Really interesting guitars. I've been a fan. I want to kind of do a video about all the G&L guitars I've owned for I got my first G&L 20 years ago. And I'm buying what may be my last, depending on what this does in the market. I'm actually waiting for one to arrive. It's supposed to be here tomorrow. So I want to do another video kind of about my history with this company, just my personal thing, because we're talking about it. Obviously, there are going to be plenty of people spouting off, but it's a sad day. Basically, there's Phil McKnight, the guy who does has a channel, Know Your Gear, apparently talked to Dave McLaren, who owned BBE. So kind of to catch you up on the history of where we were when Leo died, I think it was in 1990, his family sold the G&L company to BBE. It's Dave McLaren and his brother, I can't remember, another McLaren. And they've run it since then. And they, did a great job kind of keeping up the high standards of the company under Leo's ownership. And they took some things that Leo did and kind of like his neck pocket design, they did one with more traditional things. And I think they made it a little more conducive to like mass production, even though they still operated at a very small scale and continue to. And they added things like the Tribute series, which were made in Korea for a while and then Indonesia, to kind of give more of an entry-level instrument, which my first G&L was a Korean-made Tribute, and it was fantastic. I've owned two of the Korean Tributes. They've been wonderful. I also had an Indonesian one. Not so great. That'll be part of the next video. But just kind of, I'm adding to the noise of just kind of, we're all kind of just sad about it because people who've loved those guitars and really enjoyed having that piece of kind of Leo's legacy, and the fact that he was able to have that company till the end of his life, where he was able to create instruments and continue innovating with them. I have mixed feelings about some of those innovations, and I'll get more into that in video, but generally speaking, like the magnetic field design pickups and the satellite bridge were two things, and I'm getting both of those features in the guitar I've ordered. It's an ASAT Special, which is kind of their update of the Telecaster that Leo did in the 80s. Zach Childs has a great video kind of talking about how that model came into existence. I recommend that. But where was I going with this? It does seem like this is definitely happening. What McLaren said is they were negotiating with a potential buyer. I don't know if there's a lot of people are saying it's Fender. I don't know if that makes sense. I mean, Fender could be trying to reclaim Leo's legacy, which I think is kind of gross, because G&L kind of exists because Fenders at the time in the 70s sucked, in Leo's opinion. Some of the 70s Fenders are actually really cool, I think. But I'd certainly take one. But the point being that he created G&L because he didn't want Fender to be his legacy, and he actually had a good G&L guitar named a Legacy. And so for Fender to do that would be pretty bad taste, I think. It could, and I hope maybe it's, and I've heard no evidence that it is. I think it's just people either wanting this to happen or just speculating that Fender might want that, because they could either try to take his Legacy, the alternative being that they're buying it to shut it down because they're offering basically their whole value proposition from the beginning, or not from the beginning, but for a while, has been that they're offering custom shop quality instruments for like mass market price. So you spend $2,000 on a G&L, which would cost they would do build to order. You could actually basically, you had some options, which you could pick your color, you could pick your neck profile, you could pick your pickups, you could do these different things, and it would be made by like an individual, handmade. I think there's some CNC machining, but still, pretty much like, but the Fender custom shop guitars, those new are $4 or $5 grand, I think, for their regular ones. I haven't really looked because that's never been an option for me, but a lot more expensive than a G&L. And maybe Fender doesn't like that, and they could shut down. I don't know. It's complete speculation. We don't know at this point. So that one, and I hate to even address it because who knows? I'm talking out my ass just like everybody else. I hope whatever it is, it does seem like the employees were laid off. I hope there is a situation in which they can come back to work. I think they've done great work. They've built really high quality instruments, consistently good. Every one of this will be number 7 for me. 6 of them have been wonderful, and all of my U.S. ones have been top notch. The only dud I got in a bunch was a 10-pound Indonesian Legacy that was, and I got it from Guitar Center. It had been beat to hell, so who knows how much of that is the fault of the guitar, even though it was very heavy. It didn't sound good. I could never get the setup to get it set up right, which I'm pretty good with setups. So, and yeah, I don't think I even had it 6 months. But that is a glaring exception, and not at all my experience with any of the others, including 2 of the tributes, which are their value line ones. I've had 2 tribute ASAT specials. I got the U.S. version, which is what got the import version of the guitar I've just bought. And they were they were all up there with the U.S. ones, and I've had 3 U.S. Is that math right? I don't know. Yeah. And this will be my 4th American G&L. Okay, so anyway, I babbled on long enough. Anyway, stay tuned. If anybody out there watches this, I'm going to kind of go through my photos, see if I can find some evidence here, but talk a little bit about each of the G&L guitars I've had just because I'm feeling it. And I'm not trying to start a new channel. There's too many goddamn influencers and shit. I'm going to talk at a camera, and maybe if 5 or 6 people think that's cool, hey, I don't know. I just want to talk to somebody about it because they've had a very big role in my life as a player. So I feel like, I don't know, I may have some words for that, even more than right now. All right. I've talked long enough. Take care. Hope you're well.